This is the true story of Xuanzang. In the 7th century, a 29-year-old Chinese Buddhist monk prepared for a journey that would change history. Xuanzang was a Buddhist monk of the Tang dynasty. His head was fully shaved, as was the custom of monks. He wore simple, flowing brown Buddhist robes. He carried a wooden prayer staff and a small cloth travel bag. Xuanzang lived a life of study, meditation, and discipline. But something troubled him. The Buddhist scriptures available in China were incomplete. Some were mistranslated. Some contradicted each other. As a devoted Buddhist monk, Xuanzang wanted the original teachings of the Buddha, and those teachings were preserved in India. At that time, the Emperor of China restricted foreign travel. Leaving the country without permission was forbidden. Yet, in the year 629 CE, the young Buddhist monk quietly left China at night. Xuanzang stepped beyond the borders of his homeland, not as a warrior, not as a trader, but as a monk in search of truth. The first great obstacle was the Gobi Desert, a vast land of burning sun and endless sand. Under the harsh sunlight, the Buddhist monk walked slowly across golden dunes. His brown robes moved gently in the wind. His shaved head reflected the bright desert sun. His wooden staff pressed into the sand with each step. There were no cities, no shade, almost no water. But the monk continued walking. Faith guided every step. Beyond the desert rose the Tien Shan mountains. Snow covered the high passes. The same Buddhist monk who crossed the desert now climbed icy slopes. His simple robes were wrapped tightly around his body against the cold wind. Step by step, Xuanzang crossed mountains that few travelers survived. Through Central Asia he journeyed, across ancient Silk Road kingdoms, across lands divided by politics and conflict. Yet the monk carried no weapon, only scriptures in his heart and discipline in his mind. After years of travel, Xuanzang finally reached India. India in the 7th century was a great center of philosophy, mathematics, astronomy, and spiritual learning. There, the Buddhist monk heard of Nalanda University, the greatest Buddhist learning center in the world. More than 10,000 students studied there. More than 2,000 teachers taught there. To enter Nalanda, scholars had to pass intense oral examinations. Xuanzang, the devoted monk from China, passed. At Nalanda, the Buddhist monks studied Sanskrit. He studied original Buddhist scriptures preserved for centuries. He debated scholars in large stone courtyards. For nearly 12 years, Xuanzang lived as a monk scholar in India. His robes remained simple. His head remained shaved. His discipline remained unchanged. Kings respected him. Emperor Harsha invited him to royal assemblies. Yet, Xuanzang remembered his purpose. The mission was not fame. The mission was preservation of knowledge. After years of study, the Buddhist monk prepared to return home. Xuanzang gathered more than 600 sacred manuscripts, ancient texts written in Sanskrit, scriptures, philosophy, wisdom of centuries. The manuscripts were carefully loaded onto horses. Once again, the monk crossed mountains. Once again, the monk crossed deserts. The journey back was long, but the purpose was clear. In 645 CE, Xuanzang returned to China. The emperor who once restricted travel now welcomed the Buddhist monk with honor. Xuanzang did not seek wealth or power. Instead, the monk established a translation center. Day and night, Xuanzang translated Buddhist scriptures from Sanskrit into Chinese. By the end of his life, he had translated 75 major works, more than 1,300 volumes. He also wrote a detailed account of his journey, the Great Tang Records on the Western regions. In those writings, Xuanzang described India, Central Asia, geography, culture, and politics. Without the work of this Buddhist monk, much of ancient Indian history might have been lost. Centuries later, Xuanzang's journey inspired a famous Chinese story, Journey to the West. In the novel, a monk travels with mythical companions, but the real Xuanzang needed no magic, only discipline, only courage, only devotion. A Buddhist monk in simple brown robes walked nearly 16,000 kilometers across Asia, through burning deserts, through frozen mountains, through foreign kingdoms. Not for conquest, not for glory, but for truth. Today, the world moves quickly. Information travels instantly. Yet this story reminds us of something timeless. Knowledge sometimes requires sacrifice. And sometimes, one disciplined monk can connect civilizations, China and India, East and West, all because a Buddhist monk believed that truth was worth walking for. 16,000 kilometers across Asia for knowledge.